Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Welcome to this week's installment of Journey Through the Tarot, where we've been going through the tarot cards one at a time and taking a closer look. This week we are going to be dealing with the Chariot. And of course, we are using our trusty Housewives Tarot by Paul Keppel and Jude Buffum. If you've never worked with this particular deck before, I cannot recommend it highly enough. I think you'll be surprised about how intuitively you react to the cards. So, first impressions on this particular card. The Chariot itself, this card is always about being in motion, having momentum, and just the ability to kind of shift with the wind and go where you're going to go. And this deck, you can see the Chariot is an old-fashioned family station wagon, and you see two housewives in front of it comparing grocery labels, and they say things like tarot, risk, gain, choice. And I think this does a good job of embodying the energy of the Chariot and what it's really all about. Now, if you can see, at present, there's no one in that driver's seat of that station wagon. It's just sometimes how it feels when the Chariot comes up in a reading and we know we're about to be taken on a ride. We don't always necessarily feel in control. So much for first impressions. Let's see what our handy-dandy and trusty booklet has to say. The keywords for the Chariot are travel, decisions, and risk. And of course, that makes a great deal of sense. You're in the car, you are traveling, you are making decisions every moment, and there is a certain amount of risk just traveling from place to place. And really dealing with the nature of risk and coming to peace with there is always going to be risk in life, whether you're out and about or stuck at home or whatever it is you're doing, no matter how safe a thing you think it is, there's going to be risk. And even with the most outrageous risk, that's all part of the process of being human. And in the past year or two, we've really been encouraged to have a kind of a phobic reaction to the idea of risk, that all risk must be eliminated, and until that is, no one can be permitted to make their own decisions. It's nonsensical, it is anti-reality, it is anti-human, and it's really very cruel. And it also sets people up for some really self-destructive thinking patterns. People who are unable to risk are unable to accomplish anything. So that's something to definitely keep in mind with this. But let's see what the booklet has to say about our Chariot. It says, you can't run your errands by relaxing on the sofa, so gas up that station wagon and get a move on. While on the road, you'll need to make some important decisions. Should you try that shortcut you've heard about, or take the tried and true route you know like the back of your hand? Remember, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I love this description. The authors are really challenging the reader to step into the driver's seat of the Chariot. It's empty right now, but put yourself in that position. Be proactive in navigating your own course. Why should you allow someone else to make your decisions? Why should they be more qualified? No matter how much someone cares about you, whether it's just an empty claim or if it's really genuine, no one is going to experience the consequences for the actions you take more than you will. So even when we do get well-intentioned advice, even wise advice, we are the ones who do have the responsibility for making that final choice. Now, this is also a gentle nudge to examine how we feel about risk, which I touched on a moment ago, and really turn that on ourselves. Are we too cautious? Are we too reckless? On what basis do we evaluate whether or not a risk is worth taking? And that really is very key, because when we start looking at the foundations of our decision-making process, I think we might be surprised that this affects every aspect of our lives, not just the little things, not just the big things. Every single thing about our life is going to be tied to making that risk assessment. So examining where we are now with how we look at these risks, how we decide about them, whether or not to take them, and making decisions about whether or not that foundation needs a little bit of adjustment. That could be some very useful work, and the Chariot could help us in our meditations with that. So a few final reading notes about this card. When it comes up in a tarot spread, it indicates that if you aren't already in motion, you will be very shortly. It's time to move on. There can be no more stagnation, and it's probably going to be better to give in gracefully to this energy rather than allow it to drag you kicking and screaming. It's possible that you're going to be pushed outside of your comfort zone. This would be an opportunity to grow and to evolve. Even if you're feeling uncertain about the direction things are going, try to look for the lessons at hand. Even if it's an outcome you wouldn't have wished for, there are lessons to be learned. There are ways you can benefit from it. This could actually be a good opportunity or a blessing in disguise. Sometimes the darker colors used in the painting of our life is what's required to have a nice picture. So a little bit of philosophical introspection might be called for. Lastly, take the wheel. Just because you can't control the whole situation doesn't mean you should abandon your personal autonomy. At the very least, you can make choices about how to respond to where this energy is taking you. And ultimately, by being proactive, you may have more influence over the destination than what you first thought. So, not as complicated as our card last week, but still lots to be gleaned from this. Let me know what you think, what your personal experiences have been when the Chariot comes up in readings. And of course, tell me all about it at Blackbird's Brew. There'll be a link in the description box below so you can join us there, and I hope you will. But until next time, I shall see you in the next video. Bye.